Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, The Answer Company. Crutchfield Dermatology, a full-service treatment center and Medi-Spa in Eagan. Their goal is to help you look good and feel great with beautiful skin. The Minnesota Twins are looking forward to another great season in 2023, led by the return of All-Stars Carlos Correa and Brian Buxton. With the return of numerous players who were injured in 2022 and some new acquisitions, another division crown and a return to the World Series are in their sights. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Access to Democracy. I'm your host, Steve Francisco. Thank you for joining us today. We have a return visitor to our studio today, our friend and Eagan City Council member Gary Hansen. Gary, welcome back to Access to Democracy.
Thank you for the invitation, Steve.
So I understand that you are serving your 5th term on the City Council right now. And you also serve as acting mayor when Mayor McGuire is out of town. I'm just curious, how often does that happen that you're actually the acting mayor?
Well, in fact, this year I did have the opportunity to preside over a couple of council meetings while the mayor was out of town. Throughout the year, you get the opportunity to represent Eagan at various events like ribbon cuttings and that kind of thing. And so I spoke on behalf of Eagan at those events. And those are the fun parts of being the acting mayor. The council meetings that I presided over, they went okay. We didn't have anything controversial, so we got through them okay.
Good to hear. So you were first elected to the Eagan City Council in 2008.
Yes.
And as we all know, there have been a lot of changes in Eagan and in Minnesota since 2008. What would you say is the biggest change or biggest couple of changes that you've seen in the city of Eagan since you've been serving on City Council?
Well, you know, a lot can happen in 15 years. And thinking back on the first time that I ran for council, one of my issues was the need to be able to provide services, for an aging population and for their lifestyle needs. And I can recall in my campaign materials commenting that back then we had only 2 or 3 senior living facilities in Eagan, and I actively advocated for those kinds of facilities over the years. We now have, a dozen with 2 or 3 more that are on the drawing board. So I think we've done a lot in that regard to meet the needs of an aging population.
Very large facilities, too.
Yes,
there's one next to the fire department, station number 1 down off Diffley.
That's right.
And also one, I believe, at Lexington and Yankee Doodle.
That's right.
I have a friend, my wife and I have a friend who lives there.
Yeah. So I think we've done a much better job in serving the needs of our senior citizens in that regard. So that has changed. I was thinking back to just a year ago, the last time that that I was here, and I was running for re-election. Obviously, I was re-elected, and I'm grateful for that.
Congratulations.
Thank you. This has been an interesting and challenging year, and yet it's presented some opportunities because obviously, as you know, we've seen a transition in the need for office facilities. People aren't going into work like they did prior to the pandemic. And so we have some major office areas that have been vacated, because of that. obviously Thomson Reuters
I was
is
going
one of
to
those.
say,
Yes.
including the
Yes.
building where we're sitting in right now.
That's
we
right.
record our program here at Thomson Reuters.
That's right. The Blue Cross Blue Shield main office. Fortunately, employees of both Thomson Reuters and Blue Cross Blue Shield will be remaining in Eagan at other locations. And then we've got the area north of Central Park, the Unisys and the Delta properties, which has caused us to kind of step back and take a look at what's going to become of these areas. What can we look for in terms of redevelopment of these properties? And so we've gone through some visioning processes. I think staff has done a great job of getting public input on what they would like to see in various locations. And I think we've learned a lot from that. I mentioned that it's been challenging because as we have heard some concept proposals for what might be developed on those sites, that has caused some concerns by people who live in the nearby neighborhoods, and we've sought their input, and they've let us know their feelings on it. And it's great to have that input. We want to make the best decisions that we can on behalf of the city, its residents, and our businesses. And we want to be as proactive as we can be in terms of attracting new businesses into Eagan too, and providing for the housing needs of our residents. Too many people have told me that I work in Eagan or nearby. I'd really love to live in Eagan, but I can't afford to. So we're working on that aspect of it too. So we're seeing some changes there.
That's a good segue into the issue of affordable housing. One of the issues I wanted to touch on with you today, it seems that there's a trend we're seeing in a lot of suburban areas where there's more of a trend now toward, instead of just expansion outwards, an expansion upwards.
Yeah.
And we're seeing increased density in suburban areas. Even right here in Eagan, I think of the example of the Blue Cross Blue Shield building on Yankee Doodle that was, of course, formerly an office complex, now turned into condominiums.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
And very close, accessible to restaurants and shopping. Do you anticipate that we're going to see more of that in Eagan, that the trend is going to be more upward rather than outward?
Well, I think that needs to be the trend, because Eagan is about 97.5% developed, and so we don't have much room to spread outward.
Right.
The opportunities that we do have is in areas like the Thomson Reuters campus and the Blue Cross Blue Shield office area, and again the Unisys and the Delta spaces. I can see us, using those land areas for multi-purposes, all the way from housing to medical office to restaurants. And in the case of the area just to the north of Central Park, an opportunity there to expand Central Park and to do some things to help protect the natural environment. There's kind of a ravine on that property that if we could possibly expand into and protect that, we'd like to do that, stay green as possible.
There are, of course, only a certain number of things that the city of Eagan can do in terms of affordable housing. I mean, here we're obviously dealing with an issue that's very important. You've touched on it already, but it also involves policies at the state and federal level. But back to Eagan, are there things the city can do through zoning laws and the planning and development processes to assure that we have a mix of affordable housing for different population groups that desire to live and work in Eagan?
Yeah, and I have advocated for that. We need to do as much as we can to make as much housing affordable as possible, to have workforce housing. We have a great working relationship with the Community Development Agency, which in fact is headquartered right here in Eagan. And we have a number of housing areas that we have partnered with them on in the past for workforce housing and other affordable housing. And that's really the main avenue that we use to attempt to improve our inventory of affordable housing in Eagan. There needs to be a certain level of additional government support to be able to do that. We do have one or two examples of some private projects that were developed in terms of apartments that are affordable. A component of those is affordable, and that's great to see. But typically, a private developer can't afford to do that. And so that's when we have to rely on the Community Development Agency to help, and they've been great partners. The most recent one, we had a groundbreaking a few weeks back for the apartments on Nichols Road called Nichols Points, right by the outlet shops, and that's going to offer a veterans preference, which is wonderful. And so hopefully we'll be able to serve the needs of perhaps some veterans in the area who've had difficulty finding affordable housing.
That's good to know. Very important issue, especially when one looks at some of the statistics on the numbers of homeless veterans who are living on the street. Really something that should never happen in a country as wealthy as ours.
We owe them a debt of gratitude. We need to get them off the streets and into decent housing. Yes.
And it seems as if, you know, the good news for Eagan homeowners, if you're the average homeowner in the city of Eagan, you've seen your property values just really go up significantly. I know where we live, we've seen a number of homes that have sold within the past year in a matter of literally 24 to 48 hours and as much as $30,000 above the asking price. That's the good news if you happen to have the good fortune to own your home. But if you don't own your home, it also means that rent is more expensive. The housing market may just be beyond your grasp, beyond your reach, and especially if interest rates start trending up on mortgage interest rates.
Yeah, and that impacts the affordability of housing. You know, it's good that we have a strong housing market in Eagan. At the same time, it limits the number of people who can actually afford to live in Eagan. And so, you know, we need to continue to do the best that we can to identify areas where affordable housing is appropriate and support that through programs like the Community Development Agency.
Gary, I want to ask you about your reaction to some good news. Fortune magazine this past summer has picked Eagan, designated us the 11th best city to live in the United States. This is not a big surprise to you probably, or to me, that there have been a number of other rankings that have put Eagan, listed us as among the best places to live in the United States. What do you think it is that makes us one of the best places to live?
Well, it never
I
gets,
assume you agree with the assessment.
We certainly do, and it never gets old seeing those kinds of assessments from a number of different sources, that we are held in high regard. People enjoy living here. You know, we constantly hear about, we love the parks, we love the green spaces, we love the trees, you know. We're fortunate to have outdoor recreational amenities right in our area. We have opportunities in Lebanon Hills Park, you know, right here in Eagan. We have a number of lakes where people can fish, you know, and they like to do that. And so those outdoor activities are important to people. We also have employment opportunities here. Eagan is the employment capital of Dakota County. I haven't seen recent numbers that would indicate currently the number of jobs that we have in Eagan. Prior to the pandemic, we had about 50,000. Not sure how that might have changed. I haven't seen any recent numbers on that. But you know, people love to come here to work. They love to come here to shop. You know, we do have shopping amenities, and so I think that's reflected in the various surveys that we see. And also I get that feedback too from people who are on my list for my monthly city council update that I send out to people. I get comments about things that I write about and reaction from people. We love this, keep doing this, you know, you're on the right track, and that's what we love about Eagan.
And I must say, I think you do a really great job of keeping in touch with your constituents with the updates on what the council is doing. You know, it's real easy to feel detached from local government if you don't know what they're doing. And so it's a good thing to keep in touch with people.
Well,
as you do.
I've been doing this now for 5 years. It was during my re-election campaign in 2018, as I was going door to door and talking with people. One individual said, "You know, I really don't know much about what's going on in Eagan. You should send out a newsletter to keep us informed." I thought that was a great idea.
So you got the idea from a constituent?
I did, yes. And it's been very popular. My list is growing, and by word of mouth, people are learning about it, and I get requests to get added each month. So it's.
So I want to ask you some logistical questions about your job on the City Council. How often does the Eagan City Council meet?
The council has 2 regular meetings a month, the first and third Tuesday of the month. On the second Tuesday of the month, we have a workshop where most of the work gets done, and we get presentations from staff, and they get our reaction to what's being presented, and then that kind of charts the course for where we go for projects and issues to be decided on later during regular council meetings. Occasionally, as needed, we'll have a 4th council meeting, but that doesn't happen very often. But those council meetings, that's really just the beginning, because all of us are on different committees. A couple of us are on a number of regional boards and committees. And then a couple others have focused a little more internally on council committees. But we all cooperate in that way to get the job done, to represent Eagan both internally in the community and throughout the region.
And we should say to viewers that Eagan Television, the station that this program appears on, does a very good job of covering city council meetings,
Yes.
which are broadcast for residents of the city to
That's
see.
right. That's
so
right.
if you're curious, what is the city council doing, you can check the Eagan TV schedule and find out.
And a number of times, again, during re-election season, as I knock on doors, people will look at me and say, "Oh, I saw you on TV," And so a surprising number of people watch, and that's great.
Does the city of Eagan have a legislative wish list that you bring to the Minnesota legislature? This year is going to be the year when this coming year, 2024, legislature will convene, I believe, in February. Does the city have a list that they send to the legislature of things that they want from St. Paul?
We don't do that directly, and that's another thing that has changed over the years. We used to have some legislative priorities that we would communicate to our legislators. We are members of the League of Minnesota Cities and Metro Cities, and both of those organizations lobby the state legislature, and so as members of those organizations, we contribute to the issues that we think should be addressed during the upcoming legislative sessions, and there's a whole laundry list that each one of those organizations has. We really, in particular, in terms of things that Eagan may want, we haven't done that recently, but we're certainly supportive of the list of legislative priorities that are also important to other cities that are put together through the League and Metro Cities.
And we should mention, too, that Minnesota for some time now has had something known as LGA, Local Government Aid, which is basically aid from the state of Minnesota to local cities or townships to help fill necessities, but that the city of Eagan for many years now, as I understand it, Gary, has not had to request local government aid.
We are not a recipient of local government aid, as a number of other communities are.
And that would be because the city is able to finance what it wants to do based on local property taxes.
And yes, we have a very strong tax base. And when I visit with people about what their taxes are being used for in order to serve their needs, I'm always quick to point out that we're very fortunate to have a strong tax base, primarily due to the businesses that we have in Eagan. They really foot the bill. When you look at the tax base and the revenue coming in, you have to kind of balance that with the services that need to be provided. And the fact is that a lot of services need to be provided to residential properties, which don't necessarily have to be provided to commercial businesses. And so the net is much greater on the commercial side. And so we're very grateful for the businesses in Eagan and
what they contribute.
The support that they contribute to our tax base.
And we should say very clearly they contribute by creating jobs, by creating good paying jobs where people are paying income tax on the jobs and the incomes that they earn in those businesses.
That's right.
Yeah. Eagan is also a transportation hub for the South Metro and Dakota County. You serve and have served for some time now as chair of the Minnesota Valley Transit Authority.
I'm a past chair of the Minnesota Valley Transit Authority. I've been asked in recent years if I'd like to do it again, and I say, yeah, let somebody else do it. I've been there and done that. If you need me, I'm there. I'll help. And in that sense, I've kind of become a mentor, to other board members who've taken over the mantle of leadership.
So, Gary, tell us just briefly, what does the Minnesota Valley Transit Authority Board do?
Well, we guide the operations of the public transit services through Minnesota Valley Transit Authority in the South Metro area. I believe we have it must be 7 or 8 different communities south of the river. And we assure that the services that we provide are cost-effective and efficient, and that people have access to the public transit that they need. An extension of that in terms of my involvement is on the Suburban Transit Association Board, which is a combination of the 4 suburban transit providers in the Twin Cities metro area. It's MBTA, it's Southwest Transit, which is in Eden Prairie, it's Plymouth Metrolink, and Maple Grove Transit. The STA is the lobbying arm of our transit providers, the suburban transit providers, and I'm a past chair of that, and I've essentially taken a similar role there. Should also mention that my transit involvement also extends to the Regional Transit Advisory Board, which works with the Metropolitan Council. I represent the Suburban Transit Association on the tab, it is called, and our function is to plan and allocate federal funding for transportation and transit needs in the metro area. We're responsible for allocating over $200 million each biennium of federal funds for
a lot of money.
Transportation and transit projects.
And we should mention, too, we were talking about the vibrancy of our business community here in Eagan. I've seen some statistics that a lot of people who work in Eagan, I think you alluded to this earlier, a lot of people who have jobs in Eagan, they don't live in Eagan.
Right.
So having transportation infrastructure that can get them to their jobs in Eagan and then back home wherever they may live, whether it's in Minneapolis or in a surrounding suburban community, that's really important, isn't it?
It is. After the pandemic, the need for our express service into and out of Minneapolis and St. Paul has declined. That has not returned to those previous levels. We've had a great need, though, for more local service, and particularly in our MBTA Connect, which is right on demand. That has just skyrocketed. It's been very popular in Eagan. For $3, you can get a ride anywhere in Eagan you want to go. So
good deal.
And so I think our services are shifting more to local, as well as some suburb to suburb routes. You can go all the way from the Mall of America to Shakopee on MBTA buses and back again.
At a reasonable fare.
Yes.
I want to ask you real quickly, we're down to about 3.5 minutes left. Tell us about the new Eagan Art House. The Eagan Art House is located off Lexington Avenue here in Eagan. Tell us what's happening there at the Art House.
The Eagan Art House has served us wonderfully for about 25 years. We've outgrown it. We have needs for expanded programming. Those programs are very popular with those that are into the various arts, that you can do there.
Pottery, painting.
That's right. And we're going to build a new art house on that same location, different footprint, but it will be there. The old art house will remain open until the new one is completed, so there shouldn't be an interruption in service. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility with more space to be able to accommodate the expanding programs that are in demand. Yes.
I want to ask you, too, as we get down, time starting to run low, about citizen advisory committees,
Yes.
which are a great way for citizens of Eagan to stay connected to the city council and local government. In the interest of full disclosure, I myself happen to be on one of those citizen advisory committees. I serve on the city council's Airport Advisory Commission.
Airport Relations, yes.
Airport Relations
Yeah.
Advisory Commission, which, again, advisory, we study issues, especially related to how the airport handles noise abatement and other issues, and then potentially make advice to the city council. Say a word about other advisory committees and
Well,
where
and we
citizens.
really appreciate the expertise and counsel that the Airport Relations Commission provides. There are 3 others. There is, of course, the Planning Commission, and we have the Parks and Recreation Commission. We have what used to be called the Energy and Environment Commission, which we recently renamed the Sustainable Eagan Advisory Commission. And we really rely on the expertise in the council of all of the commission members to advise us on the things that Eagan should be doing, is doing, what can we do better. And in terms of at least a couple of those committees vetting the issues that come before the council that we then decide on, a lot of great questions are asked by the Planning Commission, for
Right.
example, as development proposals come in, and so then we don't have to answer those.
Which I
ask
should
those
mention, the
questions.
Airport Advisory Commission that I happen to serve on is chaired by our colleague Bill
Yes.
Raker, who's also a co-host on Access to Democracy,
Yes.
another of our hosts. If a citizen is interested in finding out more information, they can go to the website to find out about the function of those. When is the time to apply for appointment by the council?
Appointments will be made in April, so leading up to that in March, you can apply through the website. Just go to the city's website and My Government, and there's a place in there for commissions, and there's an application that's available there, and we encourage people to do that.
Very good. Gary Hansen, Eagan City Council, thank you for the work that you do on behalf of the citizens of Eagan and for keeping us well informed about what's happening in the City Council. And we wish you well as we approach the year 2024. Thank you for joining us on Access to Democracy.
Thank you for inviting me, Steve.